Mike Evans has been the best player on the BUCS roster, or one of the best players, definitely the best wide receiver. He took over the wide receiver. He took over the number one wide receiver position basically in his second year, midway through his second year, and that was with a good Vincent Jackson still being on the roster. This dude does not get enough props. He does not get enough recognition. We're not too far away from when people were trying to burn this man's jersey, or talking about burning this man's jersey because he lived a life they didn't understand, and he had an opinion and an experience that they didn't understand. He was ungrateful. He was one of the people who could have been gone. He shouldn't have been who he was and done anything to make himself an individual and speak his mind. You gotta respect Mike Evans as a player and his position with the BUCS. This man just a week ago, not even a week ago, a few days ago, suffered an injury in the game in late first quarter. Serious injury, right ankle. Like it was hurting him badly. You could see it through the game. He was hurt. And he still came back and he put up a hell of a performance in that game. And it was crazy to see, man. And he's been a BUCS player that you can build around. He's been on and off the field the kind of player that you want to have represent your team. Dude has gotten better every single year that he's been on the BUCS roster. I mean, he's got some things he's imperfect at, some things that, you wish he could do better, like catching and, more yards after the catch, all of that stuff, man. But none of that takes away from the fact that he's an absolute monster. He's a weapon everywhere on the field. He's not a one-trick pony in any kind of way. The dude is amazing. He does not get enough recognition as a BUCS player. Mike Evans is just hands down one of the best, and people need to start giving him recognition before something crazy happens, before injury or something takes him out of the game. We need to recognize exactly how much of a weapon this cat is. We want to talk about how much the BUCS have two number one wide receivers. As much as that sounds great to a lot of people, and a lot of people want to parrot that thought, we don't know. Chris Godwin hasn't had to play a lot of games without Mike Evans. Mike Evans has been, again, he's been a facilitator. He's been a playmaker. Chris Godwin can do the things that he does because Mike Evans is as good as he is. And that's just how talent works, not just for the BUCS, but all over the league. And that's why I tell people to kind of calm down, or at least pump the brakes a little bit on Scotty Miller, who I like a whole lot. But Scotty Miller has been able to do what he does because you had people like Chris Godwin, people like Mike Evans, players like O.J. Howard and Rob Gronkowski to kind of take eyes off of him. But I'll get to that in just a second. Again, man, if y'all fellow BUCS fans and new BUCS followers, if you don't have an appreciation for Mike Evans or understand just how good Mike Evans is, please get yourself a 7-day game pass to, get a 7-day subscription to NFL Game Pass and go and check out what that man has done. Look at some of the records. Don't look at the records. Go look at the gameplay. Look at the gameplay and watch how much this man makes a difference on the field. It's amazing. And I think he's going to be playing the Thursday night game. Another game he's going to be playing injured. There's 3 games out of this year that he's going to end up trying to play with an injury, with a limitation. He's going to go through it. I guess that's what a leader does. Probably not the best for longevity. I hope it doesn't come back to bite him in the ass. Just as an individual, I don't want to see that happen to him. But dude's amazing, and I just really hope more fans are appreciative of what he does and what he brings to the field, because it is amazing, man. It is amazing. Hey, we're going into week 5, y'all. Week 5, Thursday night football. Chicago Bears coming to town. It's going to be, I'm sorry, we're going to Chicago. They ain't coming to town. If they do come to town, it's going to be crazy. They'll play at the new stadium that's coming in, apparently in 2 years. Bullshit. Nah, for real, serious business, man. We got a good game that should be coming up Thursday night. We got a whole lot of injuries, though. A lot of injuries with the BUCS for that game. We know O.J. Howard is going to be out for the season. So O.J. Howard is out for the season for the BUCS, and that's just completely unfortunate. One of the best players that the BUCS could have. One of the more talented players. He was having a pretty good season to start off in the first few games. He's going to be out for the game. We know we got Chris Godwin, who's also going to be out, Leonard Fournette, Justin Watson. We're down to basically 2 serious starters at wide receiver with Mike Evans and Scotty Miller, the aforementioned Scotty Miller. And it should be a good game, man. Scotty Miller is going to have his opportunity to actually break out in this game, quite possibly. I mean, he's a damn good player. He's a multifaceted guy. For the most part, he's a speedster, which is awesome. But one of the things I always tried to, not always, but one of the things I tried to slow people down with was the comparison with him and Julian Edelman and Wes Welker and all these other cats. That's literally because he looks like those guys. They don't play the same. They don't play the same, and they just don't. They're completely different players. He's more Deshaun Watson than he is a Wes Welker or Julian Edelman. He's a speedster. He's super shifty. He can run. But something that I brought up a few moments ago was that he did. It feels like he got a lot of. He's got a lot of success being that he was the 3rd, 4th option, even though Tom Brady does like hitting him, apparently. I mean, he'll hit the open guy. That's what a good quarterback does. But we go back and take a look at what Scotty Miller has done with and without the likes of, with and without the likes of the wide receiver number 2, young Chris Godwin. In week 1, with Chris Godwin, he was able to get 6 targets, 5 catches, almost 100 yards, 73 yards on that. That's with Chris Godwin. The week after, when Chris Godwin wasn't in the game, didn't get as many targets or as many catches, obviously. He came up with 3 targets and 2 catches and only had 11 yards. Eyes were on Scotty Miller in that game. All off season, people already got the talk going about his being this and that, and again the comparisons between the wide receivers that Tom Brady had in the past and so forth, and serious business, man. He's a shorter white dude. He deserves better than that. He really does. He deserves much better than just being labeled because of his looks. And some people don't even realize that they're doing it, but that's another conversation in itself when you make assumptions and make presumptions and make projections because someone looks and you don't even think that you're doing it. But that's basically the deal when it comes to him and those comparisons. He's going to be a damn good player. He has the opportunity to be a damn good player on his own. Looks or no looks, whatever the case may be. But going back to his being on the field with other targets and his being the 3rd, 4th option. Going into week 3, Chris Godwin came back. Targets went up, and the yards went up. He was able to get those deep ball attacks. 5 targets for 3 catches, 83 yards. That's with Chris Godwin in the game. The following week, last week against the Chargers, 7 targets, 5 catches, 83 yards without Chris Godwin. Also in that game, we got O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard he was active in that game. O.J. Howard and Gronkowski. Those last two games, actually, they were in there, and he was able to do his thing. Now without O.J. Howard in there, it's going to be super interesting to see what the attack is going to be with the BUCS and the wide receivers. Mike Evans is still hurt. He's going to try to play, I think. But he's going to be limited, but we saw what he could do limited last week. Dude is amazing. I won't stop saying it. He's an amazing dude. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the attack and how they implement Rob Gronkowski now with O.J. Howard being out, Cameron Brate having to step up and be that blocking tight end that he's not actually been in the past. He's been decent. He's been okay, but he's definitely not been a world beater. Last week, though, he did get in on Joey Bosa, and he held Bosa up pretty damn good. I don't know if a lot of people paid attention to that, but he had a couple reps where he was on that right side, and Bosa couldn't get off. Bosa was having a terrible game. Tristan Wirfs might have worn him out, or he was just terrible from the beginning. But yeah, Cameron Brate's gonna have to go in there and do some blocking, possibly on the right side against Khalil Mack. Again, it's going to come down to good coaching, though, man. It's going to come down to that coaching attack and that coaching approach, which I've been vocal about for the past, basically all of this season. Not utilizing the tight ends cost the BUCS a game against New Orleans. And then we all had to sit back and watch the Oakland Raiders use a guy who had been out of the league for like 3 years and just kill New Orleans with repeatedly going after their linebackers with the usage of tight ends. That's a coaching issue. And I'm not going to let it go. Got to work on that. It's got to be something different coming in, and hopefully Leftwich and Bruce Arians have something planned and they can actually pull out their back pocket and not just be reactionary, because we can't do what we did last week against the Chargers. We can't go 4 or 5 drives without scoring and put it all on the defense. The defense, I believe, can handle it, but that's not the thing to do. It has never been. Never been. The Chicago Bears, I mean, they're coming in pretty good shape when it comes to injuries and everything. They have just a few guys that's out. Khalil Mack early in the week, it was considered he was going to be out, but he's playing tonight. Got a few guys that's going to be out. Basically the secondary and so forth that's going to be out. You got Deion Bush, Sherry McManus. I don't think McManus is going to play. Bush has been ruled out. Got a wide receiver that I'm not really concerned about. Mooney is questionable. I don't think that's going to be much of an issue with us. But yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting game, and it's going to come largely down to coaching, like a lot of games. But this team has had too many lulls on offense. It's too talented even with the injuries, the team has been too talented to have the lulls that I've seen on offense. So hopefully that gets cleaned up for tonight. I don't want to see another quarter and a half of mediocre football on the offensive side or the defensive side. It doesn't even matter. But nobody can have a lapse like they've gotten used to, specifically the offense. The defense has held up their end of the bargain far more consistently than the offense. So I need to see the offense get it going. I know the injuries are there, and it's an uphill battle. Yet and still, with the experience that's on the offensive side, even with the injuries, the experience on the offensive side along with the coaching, it should allow for a pretty damn good fight and a pretty good at least game plan. The execution may not be there, but the game plan definitely should be in place, because you got You got 80-year-old Tom Moore, who's, I think he coached Moses junior varsity year. You got, I think, 200 of the 300 from the Greek mythology group. Like, they're all on the staff. There's enough people on that on that staff to kind of know better and kind of get things going, I would hope. But we'll see. We'll see that it should be a good game, but week 5 should be a good game. Week 4 was a come behind victory, 38-31 versus the Chargers. I never lost faith in the defense, never lost faith there, but the offense is no way I could have predicted the offense would have gone on the tear that it went on after the lull that I saw, not just last week, but the previous week. But the defense has consistently shown that they can keep churning things out, even after that terrible start, giving up a 73-yard touchdown on the first, I think it was the first drive versus the Chargers. It was a long bomb. It couldn't have looked any better for Justin Herbert, the rookie quarterback. A lot of people started getting sick to their stomach thinking, holy shit, here we go again. Rookie quarterback, backup quarterback coming in to kill us. But luckily that wasn't the case. It was just a couple bad plays, and it resulted in the touchdown that we saw there. But yeah, good game last week, man. But they got to bring it this week. This may be a defensive struggle the entire game, and the defense is going to have to. Defense may have to be the ones to hold it together again for quite some time. They've done well throughout the season. They've done well, and I expect them to continue doing well. Coach Todd Bowles has got these guys playing at a tremendous high level early in the season. You can't really ask for much more when it comes to the defense. They've just done everything that you could possibly ask them for. I mean, you've seen improvements all over the field, every position, everything. But it just got to keep it going. It's just got to continue going. It's just got to be consistency and continuous improvement all over the field. That's kind of what you want to see. And they've done it. There's no complaints whatsoever on the defensive side. They just got to continue going. Before I get too far, one of the things that came up this week was the the struggle of Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones obviously started running back for us. Tampa Bay fans, I can't even say that. I'm bullshitting already. Not Tampa Bay fans. There's fans in general when it comes to sports. People love to see the new shiny thing. The new shiny thing last week was Keyshawn Vaughn finally hitting the field. Keyshawn Vaughn caught a touchdown. Keyshawn Vaughn had a good catch and a short run, but he caught the ball smoothly and he looked good doing so. All of a sudden, those literally two plays, it's enough for people to start talking about Ronald Jones being benched for Keyshawn Vaughn. I think that's crazier than a fish with titties. It's foolish. But then again, I have to laugh because it's the new thing. People see the new guy and they want to crown the new thing that they saw the best thing that they ever seen. And it's not fair to either of the running backs. It's not fair to Ronald Jones, and it's not fair to Keyshawn Vaughn to kind of face that kind of pressure. I know Keyshawn Vaughn, he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder like in the preseason, not preseason, but before the season started, I talked about what he was going to end up doing and how he had so many doubters that he was looking to quiet. He was looking to go ahead and give people a reason to stop doubting what he can and can't do. I mean, he's going to be a solid player. Despite what I think about the draft pick, I never doubted that he could be a solid player. And I mean, it's still to be seen. But Ronald Jones has shown me everything I needed to see from a good running back. This dude is just he can be a workhorse. he can be a workhorse. He has his faults. The drops are what people are going to focus on a great deal. So far, he has 3 drops on the season. People think that he had 3 drops in the last game or 6 drops or whatever. But he's been okay. He's been okay. He's got 3 drops on 18 targets as a receiver. As a runner, though, you can't ask for anything more. The dude has vision, he has patience, and he can turn nothing into something with regularity. The dude is constantly making something out of nothing. He doesn't lose yards on runs. This almost sounds like Peyton Barber. I remember when Peyton Barber was getting that compliment, like he doesn't lose yards, he always falls forward. This cat runs forward. This cat gets hit, and he just keeps churning his legs, man, and just keep going. He can find holes, man. He can break tackles. He's a home run hitter, given a good set of blocks, and he doesn't need things to be perfect. He doesn't need things to be perfect. Like he doesn't need great blocking. All he needs is a little bit of a hole, and he's gone. He doesn't dance behind the line like a lot of running backs do, especially with his skill set. Like a lot of guys do that. He doesn't. He bides his time, and he looks where he wants to go, and he just hits it, and he goes, man. He's solid. I mean, against the Chargers, he got 20 carries. I think it was like the second time in his – not the second time. Yeah, it was like the second time in his career that he actually got 20 carries. That should be the benchmark for him. Like, he should continuously get close to 20 carries. And on those 20 carries, man, about half of those, if they don't get called back for holding or something, half of those he breaks for like 10 to 15 yards. Like he just does. In fact, let me see, 14 out of the 29 games that he's played, he's gotten 10 plus carries. So half the game that he's played, he's gotten like 10 carries or more. That guy, and I said this last year when Peyton Barber was the starter, that guy, Ronald Jones, just needs to have more carries. Give him more carries and he produces. Unless he starts fumbling the ball, unless he starts giving away possessions, you just got to find a way to work around this dude and what he can do as a runner and as a catcher. I mean, I understand the drops frustrating to watch somebody, semi-wide open, reach for a ball and just can't get it. Look like a toddler sometimes. But I understand what he's doing. I understand what's happening. I understand it's a focus deal where he's looking to see what he's going to do next. It's a bad habit. He's got to break it. Absolutely. No question about it. But you can't take that guy off the field. You just can't. Unless he starts giving the ball away, you can't take somebody that can do what he does off the field. Like, you hurting yourself. I don't give a damn what lesson you're trying to teach or what other player you're trying to break. You are killing yourself if you take him off the field. I saw Bruce Arians do it last year with Abagu, whatever his name is. Serious business. Like, he would take that man he would take Ronald Jones off the field because of missing a block. And then Dari would come in and miss a block as well. Like, I understand coaching, I understand teaching, but you can't take a player who can do what Ronald Jones does and can produce the way that man can produce. You can't take him off the field unless he's actually costing you the game. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, I'm not a coach, obviously. It's a strong opinion that I have, but I've seen enough from Ronald Jones to know that man is an absolute potent weapon and an offense which is basically built on potency and still waiting to see all this stuff bloom. I mean, he's just one of the few people who are trying to live up to his expectations or live up to his capabilities, and he shouldn't be set. Now, I am interested in seeing what Keyshawn Vaugh can do. In fact, I think Keyshawn Vaugh absolutely needs to go ahead and take that spot away from LaShawn McCoy. And that's not because I don't like LaShawn McCoy as a player or as a person, none of that stuff. But LaShawn McCoy, I've seen enough to say, you know what, give me the young fella. LaShawn McCoy isn't explosive. LaShawn McCoy isn't a great pass protector. LaShawn McCoy, just a game ago, but matter of fact, the game that he got hurt against the Chargers, he fell short. He fell short of the first down marker because he voluntarily gave himself up about a yard short. Yeah, it's about a yard short. He just hit the ground, hoping to roll over the first down marker. Now, the prior week, the week before that, I said, you know what, I'm good not seeing McCoy in there. Again, I don't dislike McCoy. He's been a great player he's been a good player in his NFL career. Dude is highlights all over the place. But I'm not living for highlights. I'm living for production with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020. I don't need to see him out on the field unless he's taking over for an injured or incapable Keyshawn Vaughn. Like, serious business. Shady McCoy, I'm good with him being on the roster, but he can't be taking snaps away from Keyshawn Vaughn and or Ronald Jones. He can't. Nothing he does this year so far in the 3 somewhat games that we've seen him in validates his taking snaps away from these young guys. It's pointless. I think it's pointless. Basically stunting the growth of the 2 young guys one way or another. One of the 2 guys, you're stunting that growth. Let Keyshawn Vaughn get in and do the blocking. 3rd downs. Let Keyshawn Vaughn get in there and catch it and make some out of it. Give it to Ronald Jones. Leave him in there for all 3 downs. See what he can do. That's got to be the move, man. They can't continue putting LaShawn McCoy out there and let him take away from these guys and stunt their growth. Again, I'm glad he's on the roster. I'm okay with him being on there. It is what it is. But I've seen enough. Give me the young fellas. Both of them. All 3 of them. Fournette, Vaughn, and Jones. And I'll be happy to see all those guys, do what they do and bring what they bring to the table, because all of those cats can be solid. And again, I go back to Keyshawn Vaughn. Am I not really caring for him coming in the 3rd pick? The 3rd round pick. That had nothing to do with him as a player. It was all about positional value at that time and who was left in the draft. I still thought that they should have gone defensive line. I thought that Keyshawn Vaughn wasn't even in my top 3-4 running backs, but he's a solid dude, and he looks like what you are in college isn't what you are in the NFL for most people, and he can be so much different and so much better. So I look forward to seeing that. I would much rather have him out on the field than have LaShawn McCoy. It's just my thing so far. One more thing, man, before I break out here, I'm just kind of ranting a little bit now, but I'm sorry. Before I move on to that. So again, people love the new thing, right? People love seeing the new guy, the new shiny toy, this and that. And Keyshawn Vaughn can even get in the game and get his touchdown and do his thing without someone using his success to signal the failure of Ronald Jones. I loathe that part of fandom where you can't appreciate both guys. You got to bring one down to uplift the other. Like I've never understood that as a fan, especially on a fan of the guys on your team. Like I don't understand it. Like I don't understand why fans tend to do this or why they want to do it. Like you don't have to use Keyshawn Vaughn catching a pass to low-light the drops that the drops that Ronald Jones had. Like I think that's absolute garbage. I mean, they're playing on the same team, trying to make the same goal, trying to do the same thing. They're not in a competition in that way. Not for the fans, they're not. For the coaches, they are. For the coaches, I'm sure they want to outdo one another so that they get more opportunities. but they're not rooting against each other the way that fans tend to do. I just never understood it. I just don't understand that side of fandom. I loathe it. I hate it, and I point it out every time I see it. In another case, we saw with the young fella Tristan Wirfs, another young rookie tackle who's come in. He's doing pretty solid so far. I'm happy to see his success. I'm happy to see his growth and see what he's doing. But people can't even appreciate his good work and his good effort without bringing down the whipping boy of the BUCS. I guess forever now is going to be Donovan Smith. You can't even compliment Tristan Wirfs on doing a good job against one of the best in the league or one of the most talked about in the league and Joey Bosa without somebody using that to, weaponizing his success to hurt Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith is going to be one of those narratives that just, no matter what, he's never going to be good. He's never going to be great, so he's never going to be good. Somehow average, being an average left tackle, being an average player in the league is just the worst thing that could ever happen to some folks. Average does not mean mediocre. Donovan Smith is an average left tackle. Donovan Smith has ups and downs. You can make a low light reel of Donovan Smith not looking like the most athletic player. You can see him looking like, you can see him on the grass when somebody knocks him down or, when a play's still going on. Do yourself a favor, man. Again, go get yourself an NFL Game Pass subscription for a week or so, and you go find another left tackle. Anyone that you think that might be good. There's a reason why those cats get paid the way they get paid, because they be taking ass whippings. And if you are really great, then you look like that video game player that everybody want to model Donovan Smith after. You look like you're an impenetrable wall. You know what I mean? That's not the case for most left tackles, for most tackles, period. But again, weaponizing the success of one player to demonize another is one of the most silly things I've ever witnessed as a fan. And I hate it. I do. I truly, truly hate it. But somehow I end up getting sucked into talking about it and trying to speak sense to people, at least shame the hell out of them. But you can't shame stupid people. They fucking resilient. Just no shame whatsoever. Yeah, it's just crazy. I just hate that people do that, and I really wish people would leave that young fellow alone. Donovan Smith is an imperfect left tackle, hands down. But Donovan Smith didn't trip and get lucky on going his second year in the league 1 year he's had where he didn't give up a sack, recorded not giving up a sack. No, that does not include pressures, none of that. But he, on record, did not give up a sack. And that's something that good left tackles do. That's something that average and above left tackles end up doing in the league. And he did it in his second year. Most good tackles do it within their first 3 years. The exact same way that the good wide receivers gain 1,000 yards or the good running backs gain 1,000 yards in their first few seasons. In the same way, good quarterbacks throw 2 times as many touchdowns as interceptions in their first 3 seasons. And that's why people keep coming back, or coaches continue to applaud Donovan Smith and his efforts, because they've seen him hit this level of success and they're just trying to get him to get back to it. He's inconsistent, I understand, but something if you have to really pay attention to, Donovan Smith doesn't have back-to-back bad games. He doesn't. You can go back 5 seasons. He doesn't have back-to-back bad games. Like he'll have a game where he lapses and he messes up. People will talk about it for 2 or 3 damn weeks. But if you're watching the games, you ain't. Yeah, he's not a liability. Never had, and that's just not the case. People who pay attention can tell you that. Imperfect, absolutely. But that dude doesn't have back-to-back terrible games like he had in week 1. That dude looked like he had been up trying to babysit all damn night. He was leaning forward and stumbling all over the place and just looking lost in week 1 for the first half. The second half, he looked completely different. He looked like more like the normal Donovan Smith, but he was still a little bit off. But that first half was just not great. And people have been lashed onto that for the last 3 weeks. And it's unfair. And it's unfair to Tristan Wirfs that people use his excellent play so far to talk down on his teammate. I think that's silly. It's crazy. Foolishness. But again, you can't shame the shameless. Resilient motherfuckers they are. They are crazy. But again, man, going into week 5 here against the Chicago Bears, got Khalil Mack, one of the best defensive players in the league. Khalil Mack is going to put the young fella to the test. Tristan Wirfs is going to have his hands full. It's going to be real interesting to see what the coaches do, like I was speaking on before, how they handle Rob Gronkowski and the rest of the tight ends, chip in and give this young fella help. We know Khalil Mack is a monster. He's a handful for any player, no matter what year they've been in. Tristan Wirfs has handled himself pretty well, but tonight's gonna be a good test to see what he can do on his own. He's been getting help from OJ. He's been getting help from Gronkowski and Brate. Not a lot from Brate, but he's been in there. It's gonna be an interesting game. Yeah, man, it's just going to be a pretty solid game. It's going to come down to a lot of what the coaches do more so than what's on the field. Chicago's offense, they're limited due to injuries. They've got Nick Foles in there as the quarterback. The BUCS defense, again, has been, you can't really ask for more. Outside of two plays during the season in the first 4 games, you can't really ask for more from the BUCS defense. They've been a rock. I can see the BUCS defense getting after Nick Foles and causing some issues. Ty Bowles he's at his side of the field, his side of the team. He's at them on point. The offense, again, injury bitten. It's going to come down to the game plan. It's going to come down to the game plan. You still have Rob Gronkowski. You still have Tanner Hudson as a tight end. You still have Cameron Brate, who can be a productive tight end, as he's been most of his career, all except for his first year in Tampa. Mike Evans is going to give it a go. Scotty Miller is going to get a chance to show who and what he actually can be. Because, again, I go back to this one thing I've said for years. Until all of your wide receivers can challenge for that wide receiver 2 spot, you don't have a whole lot to brag about. You're an injury away from finding out that you are very short on the talent side on wide receivers. With Chris Godwin being out of the game, you're number 2. You also got Justin Watson, who's a competitor for being the number 3 wide receiver. He's out of the game. You don't have one of your other decoys away from Scotty Miller. You don't have O.J. Howard in there. So this is going to be one of the games that he can actually break out and show that he can be that guy if and when Chris Godwin and or Mike Evans is out of the game. We also have the young fella, our 5th round pick. We got Tyler Johnson, who should be made available. He's going to get a chance to show what he can do, because coming into the season, I thought that he can definitely make a run at being the wide receiver 3 if something was to go awry. But Scotty Miller has been that guy so far. He's got that skill set of being a burner, like that Deshaun Jackson type of guy. So that's going to be interesting to see. It's almost about that time. Fellow Bucs fans, I hope you guys enjoy the Thursday night game. I'm going to try to be a hell of a lot more consistent with these live streams or podcasts and so forth. Got a couple articles over at the site that's up right now at Outside Leverage. Right now I've got reaction, basically recap of the thing that stood out from week 4 from last week in the Chargers. So that's over on the site at the OutsideLeverage.com. So if you will, check that out if you're not already. It's about that time. I'm about to jump off here. I want to thank you for listening. If you listened and joined in on the live stream of this will be made available tonight. It's game time. Go Bucs.